Hi, hello. My name's Becca. I'm one of the art facilitators on here. It's my first time, so I'm really excited to be on here. So I'm just going to introduce a little bit about myself, and I'm not going to go on for too long, don't worry. So as I said, my name's Becca. I'm an artist. I've been doing art for as long as I can remember. I'm also an art youth worker, so I enjoy kind of working with young people and also kind of teaching other people my passion and kind of teaching others. I've taught in schools as well. So I love anything creative. I love drawing. I love painting, using lots of mixed media. Um, so I'm really excited to be on here to kind of share with you um, some of one of my favourite techniques in art, which is portraiture. So I'm going to kind of, I've got 3 weeks where I'm going to kind of break down different sessions for you. So this week's kind of starting with facial features. So we're going to focus on how to draw facial features, mainly the eyes and the mouth. And then next week, I'm going to kind of lead you through doing facial proportions. So how to actually draw a portrait, could be a self-portrait or a portrait. And then in the third week, I'm going to teach you how to draw. I do lots of kind of funny caricatures. So I'm going to teach you how to draw a caricature. So I hope you'll enjoy them. And today's just kind of like a little warm-up starter, getting you used to kind of how to draw the facial features. So I hope you enjoy it. And I'm just going to turn my camera around. Bear with me. It's my first time doing online tutorials. So sorry if the camera's a bit jolty, but I'll try my best. All right. Enjoy. Oh, sorry. 1 minute. Just going to put this down like that. Okay. So this is my little table. It's not great, but it's kind of, it will do. So I've got laid out here some paper. This is really nice paper I've just come across actually. I normally use cartridge paper, but this is a lovely paper to draw on, and it's a smooth heavyweight. So it's a really, really kind of smooth, it's got no bumps in it. And I do a lot of illustrations. So this is the kind of paper I work on. So I've got my paper, I've got my pencils, I've got a nice selection of different pencils here from 4B, HB, 2B. So for those of you who don't know about pencils, you can get like lots of different kind of tones and textures and lights and darks from using a variety of pencils. So I always like to have kind of like a little nice selection of pencils there. I've also got some pens. As I mentioned, I do a lot of illustrations, and sometimes it's quite nice to draw in pen. So these are, I love these pens. These are really nice. They're kind of, I don't know if you can see, they've got a really, really thin nib, so you can get great detail on those. So I sometimes draw using pens. I'm not sure if I use them today, but I'm going to leave them there anyway. I've also got some watercolors. So if there's time, we can try and add some more, add some color in some of the facial features. But first of all, I kind of wanted to just give you like a bit of what I got as an inspiration from as well. So I wanted to kind of share some ideas of like other artists that have kind of done portraits and portraiture. So I'm gonna, I don't think you can see this. I'm gonna bring it across. I've also printed them, but I'm hoping this is gonna work. All right. Okay. So this is by, I love this this portrait. It's of Mother Teresa. So this is a bit of inspiration. I hope will kind of get you thinking about like different ways that the eyes can look and different kind of textures and techniques you could use. So this is by an artist. The thing I love about this one is all the lines. It's got all these beautiful, like intricate lines and shading. So it kind of shows the variety of like expressions and lines you can get in a face. And the artist that this one is that did the previous one of Mother Teresa is called Kevin Okafor. He's a fantastic artist. He does like hyper realistic portraits. So you can see his, I mean, his portraits are incredible. If you look at them, they kind of look like photos. But the reason I wanted to show you his work is because he does quite detailed kind of portraits of like facial features. So I wanted you to kind of, you know, be able to see how realistic you can make facial features. So yeah, he's done lots of celebrities, and if you look him up on the internet, he's got an amazing amount of work. So you can see here, it's kind of like, you can see this is in progress here. It's not quite finished, but you can see his kind of focused on the eyes here and the nose, but the detail around it is incredible. And you can see, like, one thing that I'll go for as well is you can see an eyeball, how it's got so many different shades and so many bits of reflection that kind of make it look quite realistic. Also, this is, I love, I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't say it, I'm from London, and I love, every year they have the BP National Portrait Awards at the Portrait Gallery, and it's a fantastic event I love going to, because every year you see all people from all over the UK submit their portraits, and you can kind of walk around, and there's such an amazing, diverse kind of selection of portraits. So these are some of the ones I remember that I really liked, and I wanted to show you some of these to kind of show that I think when people do a portrait, sometimes they think, oh, it's going to be straight on, but there's many different ways you can do a portrait. So for instance, this one, you've got like a side profile, and also thinking of like textures of hair and shading and the background. So I wanted to show you a little selection of different portraits. So this one here, this one's obviously painted, but to see the amount of tones this face has got to kind of really bring the character of this guy out. This is a really good one. This is also a hyper-realistic portrait. So you can see it's incredible, the lines and the shading around the eye, really making that eye look kind of quite sunken and deep. So yeah, I wanted to show you some of these because I get so inspired when I see them. And this is an artist I've actually met called Shanti Panchal. And also to show you that, like, I've showed you quite a lot of hyper-realistic stuff, but this one is quite simple actually. So it's kind of like quite block shapes that he uses. So not all portraits have to be like, you know, like hyper realistic. You can do quite kind of simple portraits. So yeah, so I wanted to show you that one to not kind of make you feel like, oh, it's got to be realistic, because it doesn't. It can come in many different styles. And this one, I'm sure some of you have seen before. This is Frida Kahlo, one of my favorite artists, and I think she's fantastic. And she uses a lot of so much symbolism in her work. So it's kind of she always does self-portraits, but she uses like animals and symbols, which when you kind of look into her life are very they symbolize like you know, lots of the things she went through in life. So yeah, a lot of her portraits are very much like straight on or slightly to the side. Yeah, so I wanted to kind of, I mean, a great way to start is, so I was kind of playing around with my phone, and I kind of you know, we have these wonderful phones now where you can get such detailed pictures. So sometimes as a kind of starting point, it's quite good to kind of, you know, test out yourself and get some shots of your own facial features. So for instance, I just kind of got a few shots of my eyes, and I kind of, you know, rather than just going straight on, I thought, oh, you know, let's get some pictures of what your eyes look turned to the side. So kind of like, it's good to experiment in yourself before starting a portrait, or if you do want to have a go at this facial features, you know, get some little shots and kind of, you can collage them on some paper, or you can work from them as they are here, or you can kind of, if you want, just set a mirror up in front of you. So yeah, so this is kind of like, I advise that's always a good way to kind of start to really kind of study actually what it is you're going to draw. So I'm just going to move my laptop back because I don't really need it now. But I've also printed this one. I don't know if you can see it a bit better there. So there's some of the facial features that I'm going to be working from. One last little thing. I love working in a sketchbook, so I thought, well, let me share my sketchbook. So sometimes when I'm bored, or whenever, I love just kind of like doodling or practicing facial features in my sketchbook. So I just wanted to show you, like, sometimes it's quite good to have a little book where you can just kind of, you know, experiment and try different techniques. So for instance, I've got some pencil drawings here, a watercolor eye there, and this is actually a woman I took a photo of. So I kind of did a study from a photo and zoomed right into it. So I've got like the mouth and the eye there. And just kind of, yeah, these were watercolor as well, but just experimenting with different techniques. Or I think I saw this picture in the National Gallery. So it's quite nice to have like a little, you know, the more you practice, the more you'll kind of find it easier to, you'll be more confident in drawing the facial features. So yeah, that's a close up of one there as well. All right, so anyway, I'm going to put that aside and I'm going to start drawing. Okay, so I'm going to, as I mentioned, I could have got a mirror in front of me, but I'm going to work from this paper here. And to start with the eye, I'm going to give you, just in case it's your first time doing facial features, it's quite a good technique to kind of start with, is if you draw like a really light line across, not a heavy one, because then you can't rub it out after. And then it's kind of like when you draw an eye, it's kind of like you're going up a hill and then back down a hill. Yeah, so it's like a little hill shape there. And then you do the same on the other side. So down the hill and back up the hill. And the reason I did the line through the middle is because then this part of the eye and the end part of the eye are in a line. Otherwise, sometimes you can kind of start drawing the eye and it's quite hard to kind of get to meet at the other end. So this way, you don't have to use it, but if you need a bit of a help with your first time, that helps. Okay, and then you want to draw like, so the eyelid kind of starts on top of there and it kind of goes up and over. I hope you can see this okay. It's quite so down like that. I'm just going to show you a basic eye first, just to get you used to the technique. So I've drawn my line through the middle, I've drawn my hill over, and then I've reached that line, and then under and reach that line. Then I've drawn my eyelid over the top. And then the next thing is, sometimes a lot of the time when people draw eyes, they kind of eyelid, they kind of draw the eyeball like really fully round in the middle. Whereas actually, like for instance, you can see from my photo here, you can never really see the top of the eye. It's kind of under your eyelid there. So when you draw the circle, the pupil of the eye, you just kind of go round like that. But I'm going to leave the top part kind of like under the lid. Okay, so now we've got our circle there. In the middle of that is your eyeball. So there's another kind of circle in the inside like that. So I'm going to hold it up a bit just so you can have a look. And so kind of like that. Yeah, so now we've got the skeleton, the shape of the eye, and then we can start working in some shading. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a pencil and show you like a shading technique to kind of how you can make it look realistic from just this line drawing. So the way I do it is always kind of, sometimes if you want to try first, you can kind of experiment with going from light to dark. So with your pencil, if you go from dark to light and then back to dark, these are really good kind of techniques to practice actually, and kind of before you're about to shade. And like I said, with the different pencils, you can get all sorts of different shades. So if I try an HB pencil, which is much harder, you can see it's a lot more kind of lighter than that 4B pencil that I was using. There we go. So let me hold that up for you again. So you can see here, you can see it kind of goes from dark to light and dark to light. And it's quite hard. It's good to practice with that first, because that will really help you when you start shading in. Because now I'm going to start using this technique of dark blending into light and then blending into dark for the eyelid. So which one am I going to use? Oh, too much to choose from. Okay, I'm going to use a 2B this time. So I'm going to start off here quite dark in the corner. And as I go across, I'm going to go lighter. And the way you go lighter is just by kind of literally holding your pencil lighter. So the more heavier you hold your pencil, the darker the colour you're going to get. Okay, so now I've got like a kind of tonal shade out there. and then it's going to go light. It's gone really, really light now. And then down the hill, I'm going to carry on, but I'm going to go darker and darker and darker. Okay, so here we go. So it's kind of like a gradual dark to light and then back to dark. There we go. Some people use their finger to smudge it in. You can if you want, but something this small is quite difficult. So it's up to you if you want to. If some people do smudge in to kind of make the tonal graduation more smoother, you can like just use your little finger like that to kind of blend it in. Okay, so now I'm going to start with the eye. So it all depends. Think about what colour eye you want to do. So for instance, if someone had a blue eye or grey eye, this bit is going to be you're not going to know. You're going to notice the pupil a lot more than, say, for instance, I have brown eyes, and you can see from here there's not much of a difference in tone. So it's always quite good to start from the middle. So if I start from the middle here, one thing about the eye is if you just colour it all black, it's just going to look really flat. We want to get that kind of like that realistic look. And if so, you can see, like, I'm looking at the window, so I'll probably see lots of little window shapes in my eye. So there's lots of different reflections. So leave parts of it. So I'm going to work from this one now, and I can see the window in the eye there. So I'm going to kind of gently draw out where I can see these blocks of white, which I'm going to leave as reflection. There's one there, and then one in the middle. And then I'm going to start shading in the middle bit. Okay, so we've got the eyeball there. And then I'm going to start shading in. So you can see like the eyeball now is completely black with a little kind of window of reflection in the middle. And then I'm going to start, I always find it easier to start from the top because that's kind of like the darkest part. So I start shading from the top, and then making sure I'm not going over my bits for reflection. And then kind of start working your way around. It's quite good if you kind of work around that, almost like a kind of flower shape, like you're spiraling out like that. And then keep on going. Might leave some other bits of reflection actually. And then I don't know if you can see it, but around the edges of it, I'm going to make it a lot darker. So it really starts to make the eye kind of stand forward. You can see already I've probably used about 10 different tones in there. So from here, I've used loads of different tones. So I'm not trying to make it look flat. I'm trying to make it look a bit more realistic and like lots of reflections in there. I'm going to continue around. Make sure I leave my bits of reflection. And always keep referring back to the picture, or even better if you have a mirror. It's probably better to have a mirror in front of you for this actually. So you can see already it's coming on. And I often do this, kind of just go around the edges with a slightly darker tone, just to really make that eyeball really kind of pounce forward. So now we have the, I'm going to hold it up so you can get a good close-up of it. So now we have the eye and the eyelid. Okay. So now I'm going to start. Now the eyelashes are always I remember when I used to work in school, but this is a problem most people had with eyelashes. So they'd always kind of draw the eye, but there was always a problem with the eyelashes. So it'd always kind of end up like, eyelashes kind of just going straight up, like that. And yeah, so it's always kind of there's a special technique of eyelashes. I mean, they're different on everyone, depending on some people have thicker eyelashes, some people have thinner. But if you can, rather than them kind of going up like that in spikes, it's more of a kind of, I always describe it to people as kind of back to front C's. And it's good to practice first. So if you can kind of it's kind of like a flicking. If you can get a flicking motion like that, of these kind of back to front C's, that's kind of the motion you want to have your eyelashes going, kind of away from this part. So for instance, if I try on here, it's kind of like, you know, and they become kind of thicker and bigger towards the end. So you can see here, yeah, they're kind of like away from this part, like sweeping back to front C's. And if you're a bit unsure, like do what I'm doing, just try and just get a bit of scrap paper and then keep trying with your mark making like that until you're happy. So I'm going to add eyelashes on. So start off quite small and then do my flicking back to front C's. Yeah. Okay. So okay. And one thing people always forget is that your bottom eyelid also has, I think people concentrate on top of it, but also down here, the bottom eyelid, you also have kind of little hairs, so smaller hairs. But don't forget those as well to make your eye complete. So I'm just going around and making that bit a bit darker there. And then I'm going to think about putting the eyelashes on the bottom eyelid as well. So you can see, I can see here they're much smaller. And again, it's that same kind of thing of the back to front C's. So I'm just going to add those in there. We've got our bottom eyelashes like that. And also there's a bit of, you know, it's not just a line, you've also got that kind of pink bit under your eye like that as well. So you can kind of make sure you really, really study, you know, looking in a mirror or looking at your pictures, like, you know, because we can all draw our eye from our head, but there's actually so much more detail than we think. Okay, so now we've got our bottom eyelashes, got our top eyelashes, eyeballs there, and you can leave your eye like this, but it does look a bit like it's kind of floating on a page. So often it's quite good to kind of, it's quite nice to kind of also add in, you know, the shading around the eye, because the eye is in a socket. So it's kind of, you can see here from this picture, you can see it's, you know, it's not just white around the eye. Here's got like shading underneath the eye. There's shading above the eye, just below the eyebrow there. So I'm just going to show you quickly how to kind of shade around the eye. I'm going to start with, sometimes I find it's easier to kind of roughly work out where you want your eyebrow or what your eyebrow is going to look like. So for instance, I'm just going to lightly draw out shape of an eyebrow here. I'm not drawing that, I'm just drawing like a rough shape so I know where to shade around. And then I'm going to start shading around the eye like this. So and this bit I might actually use my finger to blend in a bit. I'm not too sure. Let's see. So you can see here that it's this way it kind of just as the eyebrow goes up, it's going to go lighter. You can see here I'm barely kind of putting any pressure on the pencil. So it's nice and light like that. Okay. So now you can see, oh, okay, now the eye's got like somewhere to live. It's got like it's got a place rather than just sitting kind of like lonely on the paper. So I might use my finger a little bit just to kind of smudge it there. Cool. And then also underneath, like I showed you with this picture, where he's got this great shading under the eyes. And a lot of people don't do it because they kind of think, oh, it's going to look like I've got bags. But, you know, we all have shading on, we all have kind of tone under our eye. So I'm going to add some tone in here, similar to how I did at the top. Just kind of working my way around like this. And also always thinking about, oh, the eye is in the socket, so it's going to be darker around the eye. And then work my way around there. Now, obviously, along here, I'm not really going to do the nose today, but if you do shading down there, that would obviously be where your nose would come in there. Okay, so now we have eye, and it's got some shading around it, and it's starting to look like it's in a face is forming. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly shade in the eyebrow. There's a lot of things with eyebrows. I mean, a lot of different ways people do it. You know, there is the thing of people sometimes just draw it and colour it in. But actually, you know, your eyebrow is made up of lots of little hairs. So a good way of, you've already got your template like that. But if you kind of similar to the flicking technique you use for the eyelashes, if you kind of continually keep kind of going back with these lines, so you're drawing lots and lots and lots of individual hairs, that's often a much better way or realistic way of drawing eyebrows, so you can see the difference there. It's like that's just so if you colour it in, but this one's got lots of little lines that kind of for me, I think that way works better. So I'm just going to add my lines here. I'm gonna and then kind of goes up and over. Yeah, there we go. We've got the eyebrow. And like I said, if it's on a man, it might be a bit bushier, or it might just be kind of lighter on some people or darker on some people. It all depends really. And then at the end here, I'm going to do a bit more shading, just kind of show that, you know, you have that bone just under your eyebrow, so to kind of show that it's gone from dark to light and then back to dark. There we go. So that's the first one. I'm going to hold it up so you can have another look again. So that's how to draw an eye. And like I said, the more you practice, the easier it becomes. And I remember when I was younger, I used to kind of just look through magazines and, you know, find pictures of eyes or mouths and just sit there and draw them. You know, so it doesn't have to always be yourself. You could just find a picture from a magazine or a close-up or the internet, you know, and just practice. The more you practice, you'll find it easier. So I'm gonna have a go at now the mouth, because there's a certain technique to get in the mouth as well. And then once I do that, hopefully we can start introducing some colour, which will be very good. Okay, so for the mouth, you can see here, I keep going back to this one, but it's a great example. So Kevin, the way he's done the mouth here is, you can see again, it's got many, many different tones. So even though it's not in colour, you can see he's got like darker tones at the corner and then lighter tones on the bottom lip to really make it look like it's kind of coming out and it's realistic. So once again, you've already kind of warmed up with the shading techniques here. So I've got some pictures of that I've taken of my mask, but they're really quite light. So actually I've got it on the screen, so I'm going to try that. So I'm going to pop it here next to my eye. I'm going to work up here. I think you can see that right here. Okay, cool. So another good way of, if this is kind of like your first time starting, I always recommend, it's quite good to do that line. So once you've got that line, straight line, and remember it's really light, so you can just rub it out after, but you can't even see the eye one anymore. So you've got this line across the middle, and that just kind of makes sure that everything's symmetrical. So we're going to start, so the top lip is going to go above the line, and then the bottom lip is going to go below the line. Okay, so we're going to start with the top lip. So kind of, if you kind of figure out like two spots, so I'm going to say, okay, my line is from here, I've got a dot there, line, and then a dot. So my lip is going to go, so think about the middle, you've got the middle of the line there, and that's roughly where this bit, so you know it kind of goes up and then it comes down to this point and then up again and down. So you want to kind of work out, okay, that's in the middle here. And then you can know on your page, you've got like a little outline template of where you're going. So I'm going to start going up like that. And once again, it's like two hills and then down meet that line. So now I know it's completely symmetrical. Back up again, and then back down, and I met the line. Okay, so I've now got like my top lip, which is, I know is symmetrical because I've laid it out. Now, lips are different on everyone, but on my ones I can see, okay, and I can see the top lip is much smaller than the bottom lip. On this one, you can see also the bottom lip is bigger than the top lip. So think about that, really look in the mirror or look at the picture you're doing, kind of try and figure out which is larger or which is plumper. And normally it's the bottom lip, I think, but so I'm going to start drawing, following the shape. Where's my drawing board? Here we go. Oh. So I'm going to start drawing the bottom shape, thinking about where it is. And then back up again. There you go. Cool. Now I've got my template, my shape for the mouth, and when I look at it, I think actually it's quite symmetrical. But the only thing is now we've got this line across the mouth, and no one really has like a line across the mouth. You can see here that it kind of goes up and down and up and down. So once again, it's like that kind of following the shape of the top lip, really. So I'm going to kind of go over this straight line, and I'm going to redraw in the line that I can see from my picture. So now it's kind of more of a wobbly line going up and down. And then again, reaching back to the, so always reaching back to the corners like that. All right, cool. So let me hold it up so you can see. So there we go. We've got the template of the mouth. And now what we're going to do, same with the eye, going to start adding some shading. And yeah, so you can see on here, normally the top lip is darker than the bottom lip, as I mentioned before. So we're going to start with the top lip, which is a bit darker, and it's especially darker like from the corner. So if you start off here, I'm using my 2B pencil. So similar to how you did this bit, the eyelid on the eye, you're going to start with darker shade, and then you're going to start going up and around, but as you're doing it, go lighter and lighter and lighter, okay? But not too light, because remember the top lip's going to be darker. Okay, so down up. So I've done the top lip. Can have a look here, hold it up. Okay, and then the bottom lip. Now the bottom lip, it's got more tones in, to be honest, because it's a much lighter shade. So always start up again with the same thing, so darker at the corners, and then gradually work your way around. Can you see I'm not really kind of touching that middle bit because I'm not sure how light I want to go. I'm going to start working around it like that. And very, very lightly. Don't want to go too mad with the colour, because if you start pressing really hard, it's kind of hard to get rid of it once it's down. So it's always better to kind of go softly and then add in the darker tones after. There we go. So you can see now it's starting to look like it's got like, it's starting to look a bit more kind of 3D or realistic. So you can see here. It's getting, can you see on the bottom lip, it's kind of got quite a lot of reflection, because that's where the light hits your mouth here. So I don't want to add too much colour there. But, you know, if we look at our mouths in the mirror, and as you can see on Kevin's picture, it's actually lots and lots of little lines. So, you know, it's not completely smooth. So, you know, if you look in the mirror, especially, or kind of look on your phone, you'll see your mouth has kind of got lots and lots of little lines. So, you know, you can add some lines to it as well. So I'm looking at my picture here. I can see I've got these lines that kind of come out like so. I'm going to add some of them. And also, like if you're doing this at home, if you don't have pencils, another really good thing you can use is biros. Biros are brilliant. They're really good to kind of shape with. Or, you know, if you don't want to use pencils, like I said, you could use pens, or paints, anything like that, you can get this kind of, you know, dark to light tone. So, you know, try different materials as well. Don't just kind of stick with pencil. I know I'm doing it today, but hopefully you should be able to get in a quick watercolor as well. So there we go. I'm kind of now going around the edges and really making it dark, so that lip kind of, so the mouth kind of pounces forward like I wanted with the eye. And also the same thing with the mouth. Already when you're at this stage, you know, at the moment it's like a floating mouth on the page. So think about, okay, how can I make it look more like it's on the face and not just kind of sitting there? So you know, or most people, we have this kind of like, you know, there's this, so here there's like a kind of goes in, and you have like this dip above where it's slightly got like a darker shade. You can see here on Kevin's one, he's also got it like a darker kind of shade above the lips. And so I'm going to add that as well. I'm going to look at my picture and add in this kind of like shaded spot like this. I'm not using my finger. Smudge it in a bit so you can see there. And then think about around it. It's not just, you know, no one really has paper white skin, so there's going to be some sort of shading around it, isn't there? To make it kind of join onto the face. And, you know, often at the sides of the mouth there, you've got like a kind of darker shades at the side of the mouth like that. So the more you can kind of add around it, it's going to start kind of, you know, becoming a part of the face rather than just floating there. Okay, and also think about under the mouth as well. You've got your chin, so your chin often starts about here. So above your chin there's going to be a darker shade. You're going to have like a little shade under your mouth as well, under the lip. So the more, and you know, I know I keep saying it, but you know, the more you look, you know, the more you're going to see these shades rather than kind of just drawing it from your head. Really kind of, you know, use what you have and use the pictures. And yeah, I remember when I worked in the school, a lot of the kids didn't want to kind of do the shading around the mouth because they thought it looked like they had a moustache then. But but yeah, it does kind of make it look. So I'm gonna bring this up a bit so it kind of, you can see now that it's kind of, it's, you know, it's becoming part of the face and it's kind of got a bit more shading. So it's not just floating around randomly on the paper. So yeah, so now we've done the eye, we've done the mouth, and I'm going to quickly, very quickly, just do a, where did I add it to? You know what, I'm going to add it to the lips actually, just to show you how you can just add little washes of colour as well to kind of bring it to life even more. I'm just going to muck around with some paints here. You know, the good thing about these is you can kind of mix them and test them on your paper. So I'm just going to try this colour. So it's like a kind of orangey colour, but that will do. So you can add colour once you've even done pencil. So you can add colour on top. So I'm just kind of like concentrating on the dark bits first around here. I'm using that same colour. That seems to be working all right. So I'm concentrating on these dark colours here, and also the top lip. So now the colour is kind of becoming a little weaker, but that's what I want. And then I'm going to wash the brush. So now I've just literally got water on my brush, and I'm just going to kind of blend it in a little bit. So you're just getting bits of colour, very subtle. I mean, you can go full out and kind of, you know, add like a really dark red or, you know, really kind of vibrant colour to it. But I'm just kind of showing you how you can just use very subtle colours to kind of just bring the mouth, bring the lips to life a bit more. It's kind of done with a brown now, but yeah. So you hold that up, you know. You can see, if you can see now, but it's got this very kind of like subtle, subtle reddish, orangey kind of tone to it. And also, if you were to do like I'm just going to draw a really quick eye. See, the more you practice, the more you'll just be able to kind of quickly get one done. So I'm going to quickly show you how to kind of. I'm not going to shade this one with pencil. I'm going to use watercolor. Okay. So I'm going to start off with the skin tone. So I'm sure you can take much longer than you want, but kind of, think about what skin tone you want. You can get many different skin tones. You can add a bit more pink. As if you find this getting a bit dark, you can add a bit more water. You see, I've got loads of different skin tones. Okay, so I'm going to start with the same as the eye here above. Start with a darker shade like this. And working my way across, got like a nice kind of like caramelly brown there. And then I've got to do it for the other edge as well. So this one's slightly different. So you kind of do your darker corners first, and then wash off the brush. And then just with the wet brush, you can kind of blend them by just softly. See, as soon as you add the water, it kind of blends in to that darker colour. All right, so there you can see we've now got like a kind of, probably got about 4 different shades of brown in there, which is quite nice. And I know I mentioned before about, you can get doing brown eyes, doing blue eyes. So I'm going to kind of show you an example of, I've got blue here, kind of like doing a blue eye. So once again, I'm going to figure out roughly where my bits of reflection are. And then kind of start working on it. So I've got like kind of like a quite darkish blue, but I'm going to add bits of black. Ooh, really dark. Actually, it's quite nice. Got quite a dark green. I was going to change it, but it's like a turquoise. So kind of work around it like this. I'm just adding bits of turquoise in there, making sure I'm not going over those areas of reflection. And then, that's why I don't have the black in there. Okay, let's try some. I think that's the black. Let's try the blue. Sorry, I've just realised I haven't got a black paint in here. That's a bit annoying. Okay, so now I've got like a darker, kind of muddier brown, so I'm going to add that. And just so I've got like different shades in there. You can see the eye already is starting to kind of come to life in colour. It's kind of like a nice, reminds me of like kind of the Caribbean Sea, or when you go to Greece or something. So there we go. It's got bits of reflection. Now we just see some black, which has none. I can't believe I haven't got black in my palette. So I'm going to use brown instead. A little bit. The pupil, sorry, rather than saying a little bit. There we go. And we'll show you up here. I don't know if you can see, but actually I think you can see it's kind of, okay. Okay, I've had to kind of rush that last one a little bit, but I will show you more. I will show you more details next week when we do the facial proportions. But just to give you a little kind of quick intro of kind of how to do facial features, and I hope you can kind of try some of these techniques at home, and practice. That's all I can say. Practice and kind of cut out pictures from magazines, try drawing them, get yourself a little sketchbook or even just some paper, and just have fun with it. And the more you kind of do them, the more you'll get used to them. And then, as I mentioned, next week I will show you how to do the facial proportions So you can start thinking about actually drawing, you know, a proper full face portrait, like some of the examples I've shown you. So I hope you've enjoyed today, and I hope you've learned some new techniques. I've enjoyed myself. I love drawing anything to do with the face and facial features. So I've enjoyed myself. I hope you have too. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week, where we'll be doing facial features. Have a lovely evening and look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care. Bye.